Hi, and welcome to Reddit Confessions. Let me tell you a story that started with silence, and ended with a note that said more than words ever could. The glass was still warm. That's what I remember most. It was sitting on the edge of the marble counter, tilted slightly, like it wanted to fall. Pale pink lipstick smeared the rim. The wine inside was her favorite, a Spanish red she used to say, tastes like summer at midnight. But the wine was full. And the house was quiet. Too quiet for a Friday. At first, I thought maybe she was upstairs. I called her name. No answer. I climbed up, 2 steps at a time. Our bedroom door was half closed, always her way of saying don't bother me unless it's important. But inside, just shadows. Pillows arranged with performative neatness. Her robe missing. Her drawer slightly ajar. Then came the moment. You know the kind, the one that grabs your stomach and twists it. The closet light was on. Her favorite dress, the black one with the open back, gone. The heels she hates wearing but always does when she wants to be noticed, gone. Perfume still hanging in the air, fresh. I checked my phone. No messages. No missed calls. Nothing. It was like she evaporated. I don't know why I walked back downstairs so slowly, like I was hoping each step would make this less real. But it didn't. It only made it louder, the silence, I mean. The kind that hums in your ears and mocks you for trusting too long. On the table, the wine glass wobbled. That's when I saw her phone. She left it behind. Unlocked. Open. Careless. My hands were shaking, but I tapped the screen. A message thread. No name saved. Just a heart emoji. The last text read. Can't wait to finally dance without looking over my shoulder. She didn't send that to me. And that's when I realized, she never said she was going anywhere. No plans. No explanation. No permission. Just disappeared into the night like I was nobody. She wanted fun. Fine. I grabbed a sticky note, the fluorescent yellow kind she uses for her grocery lists, and scribbled the only words that came to me in that moment. If you're out having fun, find someone else to support you. I didn't sign it. I didn't fold it. I just stuck it on the wine glass like a warning label. And I left. No shouting. No theatrics. Just one duffel bag, one broken illusion, and one husband who finally stopped being silent. You think that was the end? Not even close. Because what I found in her trunk the next day changed everything. I don't remember the drive. My hands were gripping the wheel, my eyes on the road, but my brain wasn't there. It was trapped in a loop, that lipstick stain, that heart emoji, that phrase she used, finally dance without looking over my shoulder. It kept spinning in my mind like some cruel carousel. I checked into a cheap roadside inn, the kind with flickering hallway lights and a vending machine that only accepts quarters. I didn't sleep. Just laid on that stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long she had been waiting for the perfect night to sneak out while I sat home folding her laundry. By morning, the dull ache in my chest had turned to a quiet fire. Not rage. Not even heartbreak. Just this cold realization that I'd been living in someone else's fantasy, not my own life. I wasn't angry at her. I was embarrassed, for missing the signs, for staying so long, for thinking that love would somehow protect me from being disposable. Around 8 a.m., I got in my car and drove back home. I told myself I was just going to grab a few more things, maybe my laptop, some clothes, maybe even that old framed photo of us at Lake Geneva, back when we still smiled with our eyes. I didn't expect to feel anything when I stepped inside again. But what I found in the garage knocked the air clean out of my lungs. Her car was there. Which meant she was home. But I didn't hear music. No footsteps. Just the low hum of the refrigerator and the whisper of guilt in the back of my head telling me I shouldn't be here. But something felt off. Something wasn't right. Maybe it was the way her car was parked, pulled in quickly, crooked, almost as if she didn't want to be seen from the street. Curiosity or self-destruction, I'm still not sure which one won, but I walked around the back of her car. That's when I saw it. The trunk. Barely closed. The latch was pressed down, but not sealed. I opened it. Inside, there was a black leather jacket that didn't belong to either of us. A man's cologne hit me like a punch, sharp, musky, unfamiliar. There was also a crumpled receipt from a bar across town. Midnight timestamp. 2 cocktails. A shared dessert. The kicker. It was signed with a little doodle, a smiley face. Her smiley face. I'd seen her draw it on grocery lists for years. And then I saw the gift bag. It was buried beneath the jacket. I pulled it out and sat it on the hood. Inside was a sleek, matte black box wrapped with a silver ribbon. I opened it like it might explode. It didn't. But it still shattered me. Inside was a luxury watch, men's, engraved on the underside. To T, you're worth the wait, L. I didn't breathe for a full 30 seconds. I just stood there, holding that lie in my hands. T, who was T? How long had she been waiting? And how did I never see this coming? The door behind me opened. I froze. Her voice, groggy, casual, like nothing had happened, floated down the steps. Dorian. What are you doing here? What was I doing there? Good question. I turned slowly. She was standing at the top of the steps in one of my old t-shirts, holding a mug of coffee like we were about to have a Sunday morning chat. But I didn't say anything. I just held the watch box up in the air like a courtroom exhibit. Her face drained of color. And for the first time in years, she was the one who didn't have the words. She didn't step down the stairs right away. Just stood there barefoot on the top step like she was calculating which lie would hurt less. That's the thing with liars, the silence always comes first. Her fingers tightened around the coffee mug, knuckles paling, and I could tell from the way she looked at the watch box, not me, that she wasn't shocked. Just caught. Caught off guard, maybe. But not innocent. I finally said, T. Who is that? She didn't blink. It's not what it looks like. Those 5 words. I swear, they should be banned from the English language. Nothing good has ever followed them. But instead of launching into a tirade, I just stared at her, not waiting for an explanation, but wondering how long she'd been preparing one. She descended the stairs slowly. Dorian, listen. You didn't expect me to come back, I interrupted, and for the first time, my voice didn't tremble. You thought I'd be too hurt. Or too afraid. Or too pathetic. She opened her mouth, then closed it. A few seconds passed like hours. It's not what it seems, she tried again, softer this time, like we were sharing a moment instead of unearthing a betrayal. I was confused. Things haven't been right between us. You know that. There it was. The twist. The reframe. Turn my pain into her excuse. So your solution, I said, still holding the watch, was to disappear for the night without telling me, get drunk with a man whose name starts with T, and leave me wondering if you were dead in a ditch somewhere. I didn't mean for you to find it, she blurted, then caught herself, her own words betraying her faster than I ever could. I didn't mean to hurt you. I looked down at the trunk again, like it might offer a better explanation than she could. The receipt. The jacket. The note in the watch. The secrecy. The silence. And now this, standing in our garage in my shirt, telling me the damage only matters because I found out. Who is he? I asked again. She finally answered. Trevor. From the gym. That stung more than it should have. Trevor. The guy who always smiled too wide at her. The one who offered her protein bars and compliments like he was auditioning for something. The one she always claimed was just friendly. I should have known. Or maybe I did know, deep down, and just didn't want it to be true. I didn't sleep with him, she added quickly. Not yet. Not yet. That phrase cut through me sharper than any confession ever could. It was like saying, don't worry, I only drew the map, I haven't taken the trip. But the destination was clear. She was going to. She wanted to. She had planned to. I handed her the box. Then this belongs to him, I said. Give it to him yourself. She didn't take it. She just stood there, eyes glassy, breathing heavy through her nose like I was the one who broke her heart. I never asked for this life, she said under her breath. I felt something rise in my chest, not anger, not sadness. Something colder. Numbness, maybe. Well, that makes two of us. And with that, I walked past her and out the door again. But not before hearing her whisper, just loud enough for me to catch it. I was going to leave you anyway. She wanted me to hear that. She wanted to be the one who walked away. What she didn't know, what she still doesn't know, is that I've already made plans of my own. And if she thinks this is the end of the story, she's not ready for what's coming next. I didn't slam the door behind me when I left. That would have given her closure. That would have told her I was angry, which in her mind would make her feel justified, as if I were irrational, too emotional, the kind of man who overreacts to small mistakes. No. I left the house quiet, still. I wanted her to feel the absence like an echo that wouldn't end. But I didn't leave empty-handed. As I backed out of the driveway, I checked the back seat. Still there. The small black fireproof lockbox I grabbed from the closet when she wasn't looking. She probably hadn't even noticed it was gone. It had always been mine, buried under stacks of her old scarves and yoga mats she never used. She once joked, "What are you hiding in there?" Secret love letters, and I smiled and said, "Just old junk." But it wasn't junk. Inside was every receipt, every shared bank login, every scrap of paper tied to our 10-year marriage. Car titles. Tax returns. Copies of things she signed without reading. And the envelope. The one she didn't know existed. It was addressed to me in my father's handwriting. My dad passed away 5 years ago. He left me a letter. It wasn't much, a few paragraphs scribbled in the uneven scrawl of a man who had more love than time. But in it, he said something I'd ignored for too long. If someone makes you feel small, they don't love you, they just want to control the size of your world. And that's exactly what Lila had done. Slowly, over the years. She'd clipped parts of me until I forgot how to recognize my own outline. The hobbies I gave up. The friends I stopped calling. The job I turned down because it meant traveling. She always knew how to spin it, make me think I was choosing her, when really, I was just folding into the shape she wanted me to be. But now I had the box. Now I had proof. Not of her betrayal, I didn't need proof of that. I had the watch. I had the text. I had her, not yet. No, I had proof of who I used to be. Before I lost myself trying to hold her together. I drove to a park we used to visit in better years, a quiet one near the river, with peeling benches and willow trees that hung low enough to touch the water. I sat there for an hour just breathing. Really breathing. I opened the box and took everything out piece by piece, laying it across the bench like a forensic display. I wanted to remind myself I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I had been building a life, not just a marriage. That's when I found the other envelope. It was one I had forgotten I even kept, a thick, folded printout from 2 years ago. A credit card statement. Not mine. Hers. It showed purchases I didn't recognize. A boutique hotel an hour away. 2 massage appointments. A dinner bill with 2 entrees and a bottle of wine, on a night she told me she was at a late staff meeting. I never confronted her back then. I made excuses. Told myself she must have used the card for a coworker's birthday. I remember wanting to believe that lie so badly, I tucked the envelope away instead of facing it. But now, with everything out in the open, that moment hit me like a second betrayal, not just hers, but mine too. I betrayed myself by choosing comfort over truth. And that's when the second phone buzzed. Not mine. Not the one she left behind. A burner. I had found it in the side pocket of her gym bag when I came back to grab clothes. I wasn't going to take it. I swear. But something told me to look. She had hidden it under an old sports bra, like a cliché from a bad TV drama. But this was real. Real enough that the screen lit up in my hand now with a message that simply read. Still on for Tuesday. Same room. Same time. No witnesses this time. I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I did something I never thought I'd do. I responded. Absolutely. I've been waiting for this. Because I needed to know who T really was. And now, I had a meeting scheduled to find out. Tuesday came too fast. I barely slept the 2 nights leading up to it. My brain wouldn't shut off, every possible outcome played out on loop. What if it wasn't just one guy? What if I walked into a setup? What if I looked this man in the eyes and saw a better version of myself, younger, richer, more confident, more alive? That was the most terrifying thought. That she had traded down for me all along and finally realized it. The burner phone stayed silent until noon. Then it buzzed. Room 407. Bring the same smile you had last time. I've missed it. That was the first time I realized something chilling. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It wasn't even a fling. It was a continuation. A sequel. A relationship. My wife hadn't just been cheating, she'd been building another world behind my back. One with hotel rooms, secret phones, engraved watches, and private rituals. Rituals I had never been invited into. I didn't reply. I just got in my car, heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. I drove to the hotel, a sleek, modern place near the business district with tinted windows and valet parking. I didn't use the valet. I wanted control. I parked in the far corner of the underground garage, angled toward the security cameras, just in case. When I walked into the lobby, I realized something else. I had no idea what this man looked like. I didn't even know how old he was. I was walking into a blind meeting with the ghost who'd been haunting my marriage. The elevator smelled like cologne and disinfectant. My reflection in the chrome walls looked foreign. I hadn't shaved in days. My eyes were bloodshot. I looked like a man unraveling, which wasn't far from the truth. Room 407. I stood outside it for a solid minute. Then knocked. No answer. I knocked again, slower this time. I heard movement. Then a voice, muffled behind the door. Didn't expect you this early. Come in, it's open. He thought I was her. My hand hesitated on the handle. Then I turned it and stepped in. The room was dimly lit, curtains pulled, a tray of fruit and wine on the side table, partially touched. On the bed sat a man in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, wearing a gray button-down shirt and jeans. He looked up, and the moment he saw me, his entire face shifted, confusion first, then dread, then something I didn't expect. Guilt. But not panic. He stood up slowly. You're not Lila. No, I said, my voice low. I'm the guy who's been paying her credit card bills for the last 10 years. He swallowed hard. Dorian. That stopped me cold. He knew my name. We stared at each other in silence, the kind that stretches time. Then he sighed and sat back down like a man who just accepted the inevitable. She said you wouldn't do anything, he muttered. Said you didn't have it in you. I didn't move. How long? He looked down at the floor, then back up. 9 months. Maybe a little more. It started at the gym. She said you were distant. That you'd lost interest. That she felt invisible. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because of how rehearsed it all sounded. Like a script he'd been handed. The same one she gave me that night in the garage. She said she was going to leave you, he added. Yeah, she said that to me too, I said. Right after I found the watch. His eyes flicked toward my jacket pocket. You brought it? I didn't answer. He looked away, shame tightening the lines around his mouth. I didn't mean for it to go this far. And then I said something I hadn't planned to say. You were going to meet her today, I said. But you got me instead. He nodded. So, what happens now? And for the first time, I realized I had power. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about rage. It was about truth. About ripping the mask off a fantasy and making both of them look in the mirror without filters or excuses. So I reached into my pocket, pulled out the burner phone, and tossed it on the bed. I recorded every message, I said. And every one of hers is backed up to the cloud. He paled. You're going to ruin her. No, I said quietly. I'm going to show her who she really is. Because sometimes, justice isn't loud. It's patient. It's cold. It's precise. And this? This was only the beginning. I didn't say goodbye when I left the hotel room. I didn't threaten him, didn't punch a wall, didn't ask him to explain himself further. I just left. That was the plan now, to let silence haunt them. To let consequence unravel slowly, without the melodrama they probably expected from someone like me. Back in the car, my hands were steady. Strange how calm you get once the truth hardens in your veins. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back. Not because he looked broken. But because, for the first time in years, he looked like he had nothing left to lose. I drove home. Not to move back in. Just to set something in motion. She wasn't there when I arrived. Her car was gone again. Of course it was. But I knew she'd be back, she always came back when she needed something. A charger. A change of clothes. A reason to spin a new story. I walked through the house with the burner phone in my pocket and an idea in my head. Something petty. Something simple. Something real. I connected the burner to my laptop and uploaded everything, every message, every suggestive text, every photo she sent to that number when she thought no one else would see. I didn't share anything explicit, I wasn't here to get banned or arrested. Just the conversations. The emotional blueprint of their affair. The planning. The excuses. The names they used for me when they thought it was cute to make fun of the sad little husband folding socks at home. It took me about 20 minutes to format the texts into a clean PDF. I titled the file exactly what it was. This is who you are now. PDF. Then I wrote a single email. From, Dorian. Wexley @ to Lila's work email, the only one she actually checks. Subject, you left your mask on the table. Body. Don't worry. I'm not posting this anywhere. I wouldn't humiliate you like that, not the way you did to me in every room I ever trusted you in. But I thought you might want to read what honesty looks like. Word for word. From your own mouth. I attached the file. Clicked send. And sat back in the chair that used to be mine. Then I left the house again. Left the door unlocked. Let her wonder what else I might have done. I checked into another hotel across town, this one even worse than the first. The wallpaper curled at the corners, and the lights flickered when you ran the shower. But it was far away from the lies I used to call home. I expected silence. Maybe a delayed reaction. Maybe nothing at all. But 10 minutes later, my real phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer. It rang again. Then came the text. What the hell did you do? No name. No greeting. Just fury packed into 7 words. I let it sit there. I wanted her to feel it, the panic of not knowing what I'd do next. The same panic I had lived with every time she smiled at a message she refused to show me. The same feeling she gave me when she left without saying a word. Then, finally, another message came. We need to talk. Please. That word, please, tasted like sugar rotting on my tongue. But I didn't reply. Instead, I made a call of my own. Not to her. Not to him. To a lawyer. And in the middle of a conversation about options and timelines and property divisions, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Freedom. Because when you've been used like a placeholder in your own life, the moment you stop waiting for someone else to love you right is the first moment you start to love yourself enough to walk away. And I hadn't even started walking yet. I didn't expect the knock at the door. It was nearly midnight, and the hallway outside my room was dead silent, just the distant hum of a vending machine down by the elevator. I had been sitting in the corner armchair with the TV off, the room lit only by the dim yellow glow of the lamp beside me. I thought maybe it was hotel staff. Maybe someone needed the room. Or maybe Lila had tracked me down. But it wasn't her. When I opened the door, I froze. It was Harper. Her best friend. The one who used to sit across from us on double dates, grinning like she knew more than she was allowed to say. The same woman who answered my call that night and lied to me, said Lila was out, with friends, and acted like I was being dramatic. She didn't wait for permission to speak. Can I come in? She asked softly. I stepped aside, too stunned to form a sentence. She walked in slowly, looking around like the room might explode. When she sat down on the edge of the bed, her expression was, not pity. It was remorse. But not hers. I had no idea it went that far, she said. I thought she was just, escaping. Blowing off steam. I didn't know there was another phone. Another man. I didn't respond. I just sat down across from her and stared, waiting for the angle. The catch. She told me you left her a note, Harper went on, her voice trembling slightly. But she didn't tell me about the watch. Or the hotel. Or Trevor. So he had a name now. That didn't make it easier. She's unraveling, Harper said. She's pacing her apartment like she's afraid to blink. She's called me 9 times today. I ignored the first 8. Why are you here? I finally asked. She took a breath like she had been holding it for hours. Because I think you need to know something. And because you're not the one who deserves to be in the dark anymore. Then she pulled out her phone, tapped something, and held it out toward me. A video. I hesitated, but hit play. It was Lila, seated on Harper's couch, hair tied back, no makeup, red around the eyes like she'd been crying for days. The video wasn't rehearsed. It was raw. Shaky. Lit by a single lamp in the background. Her voice cracked 2 seconds in. If he's watching this. Dorian, I don't know what to say. I ruined it. I know that now. I've been blaming you for everything that went wrong inside me. I thought if I laughed enough, drank enough, distracted myself enough, I wouldn't have to face how hollow I've become. But you never deserved this. I wanted more, but I went looking for it in all the wrong places, and with the wrong people. She paused. Looked down. Whispered something I couldn't hear. Then she looked back at the camera. You weren't boring. You were safe. I mistook that for something missing. But now I realize. I was the one who left the house long before you ever packed your bag. The video ended. I handed the phone back in silence. I didn't come here to ask you to forgive her, Harper said. I don't even think I want to forgive her. But you deserve to hear that. There was a long stretch of stillness between us. Eventually, she stood up and headed for the door. I know you think you're the weak one in this story, she said. But you're the only one who didn't lie. When the door shut behind her, I stared at the empty bed for a long time. Her apology didn't change the facts. She still chose someone else. She still broke what we had. But something shifted. Not for her. For me. Because that was the moment I knew I didn't want her back. And for the first time, I didn't feel like the broken one anymore. The next morning, I packed everything up without hesitation. The motel room looked the same as when I arrived, but I didn't. There's something about surviving the worst version of someone you once loved that changes how you carry yourself. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was just done. I left the burner phone behind in the trash. Whatever came next wasn't my burden to carry anymore. I didn't want her voice in my pocket, didn't want late-night messages or guilt-laced confessions floating across a cracked screen. I had lived in silence long enough. Now, I wanted peace. Before I left town, I made one final stop. Not at her place. Not at the lawyer's. At a coffee shop near the river, where I used to write before I ever met her. I ordered the same thing I used to, black coffee and a toasted bagel, extra butter. The guy behind the counter didn't ask for my name. That felt nice. It reminded me that anonymity can feel like freedom, not failure. I pulled out a notebook I hadn't touched in years. Flipped to the first blank page. And for the first time in over a decade, I wrote something for myself. Not for work. Not for her. Just for me. A simple sentence. I didn't lose myself, I gave myself away. But now I'm taking me back. I didn't know where I was going to live next. I didn't know what healing would look like. But I knew I wasn't going backward. I never replied to her apology. I didn't need to. Some goodbyes are better left unspoken, not out of bitterness, but because the healing has already outgrown the wound. Weeks later, the divorce was processed. No theatrics. No courtroom drama. She signed. I signed. Quiet closure. And now? Now I wake up without waiting for a door to slam or a phone to buzz or a voice to twist the truth into something that fits someone else's guilt. I go for walks. I reconnected with friends I'd ghosted during the marriage. I started teaching creative writing part-time at a community center. Nothing huge. Nothing flashy. But it's mine. And I've learned something I wish I'd known years ago. Being alone doesn't mean being lost. It means you're finally free to find your way back to yourself. Thanks for listening to my story here on Reddit Confessions. If you've ever had a moment like this, a silent turning point, a goodbye you didn't say, or a truth that cracked open your world, share it in the comments. What part of this story hit you the hardest? We'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, your insights, or even just a moment that stuck with you. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories just like this. This is Reddit Confessions, and we're just getting started.